All right, hello everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing well. I'm so excited to have another story time with you today. Let's give it just a few minutes for people to join in. We will be reading the story of Sleeping Beauty today. So last week we read a story about someone's very first ballet recital, and this week we are learning about a story ballet. So if you've ever heard of Sleeping Beauty, please tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. I know I love the Disney Sleeping Beauty, and the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty is a little different than the Disney version, and the ballet that we're going to learn about today is even a little bit different from the Disney version. So there's lots of ways to tell the story of Sleeping Beauty. We'll also learn some steps from the ballet Sleeping Beauty, so that will be really fun as well. So if you're here, comment and say hello. I would love to see who's watching today. If you don't know me from last week or from a performance, or maybe you take class with me, my name is Ava Cobb. I am a principal dancer with Northwest Arkansas Ballet Theater, and I'm gonna read a story to you today, and we're gonna dance together. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Like I said, we're learning the story of Sleeping Beauty, and Sleeping Beauty is a really old ballet. Its actually first performance was way back in 1890, and I chose it for this week because there's a very famous classical composer, and his name is Peter Tchaikovsky, and yesterday would have been his 180th birthday, and he made all of the music we're going to dance to today from Sleeping Beauty, so I'm super excited. So take a seat and put on your listening ears, and we're going to learn about this story. Sleeping Beauty. You'll have to excuse my fake storybook here. We've got the nice technology version. All right. In a kingdom far away, a king and queen were celebrating the birth of their beautiful baby girl, Princess Aurora. You can see they're very excited. So overjoyed were the king and queen that they decided to throw a party in honor of their new baby. They flung open the gates of the kingdom and invited everyone in the land to celebrate. Among the guests were Aurora's fairy godmothers, who swooned with delight over the baby, but one fairy godmother was missing. There you go. You can see the picture. These are all the fairies that came to Aurora's christening party, and you can see little baby Aurora in the corner. The evil fairy Carabosse realized that she had not been invited to the party, and she was furious. How could she be ignored? What had she done to be left out of the festivities? She fussed and fumed, her anger growing into fury. Then she came up with a plan. She would go to the party, and the king and queen would pay dearly for leaving her out. So if you've ever seen the Disney version, oh, you can see my face. If you've ever seen the Disney version, the evil's fairy is named Maleficent rather than Carabosse, but in the ballet, her name is Carabosse. The fairy godmothers were in the very act of bestowing their precious gifts, virtues, on Princess Aurora, when suddenly an electric current sizzled through the air. Carabosse had arrived in a chariot, enveloped in rage. "How dare you!" she roared at the court as the court scrambled for cover. The king and queen realized there had been a terrible mistake. Carabosse had been accidentally left off the guest list. But now it was too late, and Carabosse had come armed not with a gift, but with a curse. The baby will grow and grow and grow, but on her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger on a spindle and die, she proclaimed. The entire court gasped, and the king and queen were beside themselves with horror. You can see she's very angry, and the king and queen are very scared, right? That's a terrible thing. They didn't want their little baby to die. But luckily, there was one fairy who had yet to give her Princess Aurora her gift, the Lilac Fairy. She stepped forward and said, "Princess Aurora will grow and grow and grow, and on her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger. But she will not die. said the lovely and kind Lilac Fairy. Everyone sighed with relief. She will instead fall into a deep sleep, continued the Lilac Fairy. As with all of the kingdom, this sleep will last 100 years, when she will be awakened by a kiss from her one true love. Can you imagine sleeping for 100 years? Sometimes I really like to take naps, but I would not want to take a nap for 100 years. The graceful Aurora grew up much loved and happy and totally unaware of the curse set upon her. For her 16th birthday, the king and queen planned another party, equal and grand to the celebration of her birth. News of Aurora's charm and beauty had spread, and princesses and princes from all around the world wanted to be her friends and hurried to meet her. Garlands of flowers were strewn through the kingdom as anticipation grew for Aurora's arrival at the ball. Oh, that would be so pretty to see so many flowers. When Princess Aurora glided onto the floor, everyone could see she had grown into a lovely young woman. She took turns dancing with all of her suitors, and none could help but smile at the beautiful princess twirling with such joy. You can see Princess Aurora right there, and then these people right here. It's a very famous dance on the other side called the Garland Waltz, and I've gotten to dance it on stage. It's a lot of fun. Guests had come bearing gifts for the princess, and among them was an old woman. Aurora had no idea that the old woman was really the evil Caraboss in disguise. Caraboss gave the princess a bouquet, and just as predicted, Aurora pricked her finger on a spindle hidden among the flowers. Falling under the curse, she immediately collapsed on the ground. And as the king and queen raced to Aurora, Caraboss threw off her cape, and the kingdom, realizing the evil fairy had come for revenge, gasped in horror once again. As the kingdom descended into chaos, the Lilac Fairy magically appeared. She reminded everyone that Aurora would not die, but instead Aurora would fall into a deep, deep slumber, as would they all. You can see it. Princess Aurora pricks her finger, and then she falls asleep, but the Lilac Fairy comes to save the day again. As they drifted to sleep, a stillness fell over the land. Trees reached high into the sky, and vines crept up the walls, covering the entire kingdom and hiding it from the rest of the world. You can see everyone's falling asleep. He's fallen asleep standing up. On the exact day when 100 years had passed, a prince was riding his horse in the forest and stopped to take a rest. He began to daydream, and as he did, the Lilac Fairy appeared in front of him. "You are thinking about the future," she said, "and I know where your future lies. It is with your one true love, a beautiful princess named Aurora." The Lilac Fairy showed the prince a vision of Aurora, and he immediately was captivated by her beauty. He just knew that this princess was his one true love, and he wanted to see her at once. The Lilac Fairy led the prince on a journey through a deep wood. They came to a lake, and there they found a boat. As they sailed and sailed and sailed, they suddenly spied on the far shore at the top of a castle rising from a forest. Do you see the castle in this picture? They reached the other side of the lake, and after valiantly cutting through the tangled vines and branches that surrounded the castle, the prince at last reached the beautiful sleeping princess and gently kissed her. Do you see? Just as the Lilac Fairy had promised, the kiss of Aurora's one true love lifted the curse. Aurora smiled and slowly rose, rubbing her eyes and stretching her arms and legs. She must have really needed to stretch after sleeping for 100 years. She saw the rest of the kingdom restored to life. How happy Aurora was to meet this wonderful prince, and how happy he was to meet her. Now that they had found their true love, they agreed to marry at once. Oh, now they're all dressed up for their wedding, aren't they? With haste, the kingdom gathered for the royal wedding. Aurora and the prince took their vows with love so strong it made the sunshine seem dull. The king and queen beamed with delight. After their ceremony, Princess Aurora and the prince celebrated with a dance together. It was as if the entire kingdom had drifted away and only the two of them were there, happy as can be. You can see them dancing right there. While the kingdom promised and continued to celebrate, characters from all the fairy tales amazingly joined in the celebration. The white cat and Puss in Boots sashayed and swatted at each other. That's true, all the fairy tale characters come to the wedding. A group of jesters performed tricks and flips, and Princess Florine and the Bluebird floated and fluttered across the floor. The wolf found Little Red Riding Hood, hiding in the forest of tree branches held aloft by the kingdom's tiniest children. Can you see? Let's see. There's Red Riding Hood, and there's Red Riding Hood, and the wolf, and all the trees. The king and queen, so happy and relieved about all that had transpired, decided then and there this was the perfect time for Aurora and her prince to be crowned the new queen and king of the kingdom. The lilac fairy who had saved Aurora from Caraboss's evil doom blessed the couple and wished them nothing but health and happiness. You can see the lilac fairy back there. It was a happy day for a happy couple and a happy kingdom. It was the start of a life lived happily ever after. And there's Aurora and the prince. And that's a step they actually do in the ballet. Isn't that cool? The end. Oh, thank you for reading this story with me. Wasn't it a good one? It's sort of a long one, right? So in this story, a lot of things happen. But we're going to listen to some of the music and dance along to it. So if you're ready, stand up and stretch out a little bit. We're actually going to start with some stretches because before we dance, we always have to get our muscles warm, and it helps make our brains work too. So why don't you make sure you have space around you. I have to make sure. And then take a seat. Let's make sure our music's working. There we go. All right. Everyone sit up tall. If you liked this story, give me a comment. Flex your feet, and we're going to reach over and grab our feet. When we do this, if you were here last week, we talked about folding over our legs like a piece of paper. Good. Let's sit up tall and reach over our legs one more time. Open up into a nice little butterfly. So we glue our feet together and pretend our legs are like our wings, and we flap our wings. Good. Oh, it's so good to see so many of you here with me. I hope you're dancing along. Good. All right, and nose to your toes. Good. Sit up tall, and we're going to open our legs to a nice big straddle position. Everyone's a little bit different. The goal is to have our legs really straight and our toes pointed. And then we want to pretend like we have a string pulling us up, 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 a little bit taller. Good. Let's paint a rainbow with our arms. Over to one side and up. I always like to paint my favorite colors. Imagine that you're painting stripes in your favorite colors. And up. One more time each side. Over. Up. And over. Up. Good. All right, give your legs a hug. The last thing we have to get warm is our back muscles, because in ballet we use our back muscles a lot. So I want everyone to put your hands on the ground, and we're going to stretch up towards the sky. Good. And all the way back down. Let's go up one more time. If you're really feeling bendy, you can try and get your feet to touch your head. Good. All right, we're going to go down. And now that our back is moving, we're going to make sure it's really strong. So go up halfway and try and lift your hands up. Whew. That is a really hard exercise for me. I don't know about you. Let's try it one more time. Go halfway up and try and hold with no hands. Okay, good. And stretch all the way back. Nice work, everyone. So if you were here last week, we learned the 5 positions of ballet, and they're really important. So we're gonna review them really quick, so then we can learn some fun steps from Sleeping Beauty, all right? So everyone stand up. Make sure you have space around you that you won't run into your furniture. All right, we're gonna start with our legs down, or our legs in parallel, our arms down. Goodness gracious, all right? And we're gonna open up one toe to one wall and our other foot to the other wall and glue our heels together. Then we're gonna bring our arms up. This is first position. Good. Now from here, we point our foot and follow along with me. We're gonna open up to second position. So it's just like first, with our feet to our toes to opposite walls, but we're just a little bit wider. Good. Now from here, we're gonna point that toe again and cross one foot over the other, but just so you can still see your big toes. Good. Now we're gonna have one arm in first and one arm in second. And if you can do math, you can do this, because one arm in first plus one arm in second equals 3, which we're in third position. Good. From here, we're gonna open up our legs from that third to fourth. So it's just like third, we just open up and bring one arm up. Good. Now we tendu and cross our feet again, but this time we hide our big toes. Good. And arms up in fifth. Excellent. Thank you for reviewing our 5 positions with me. Are you guys ready to learn some steps from Sleeping Beauty? If you are, I want you to comment, okay? Let's see. We're going to turn on our music. We are first going to learn one of the dances that the fairies do in the prologue. So we talked about that in the very beginning of our story, right? That the fairies all came and danced and gave gifts to Aurora. And there's a huge scene where all the fairies are dancing together. So we're gonna learn one of those steps. So everyone, we're gonna start by learning the port de bras. Okay, the port de bras is how we move our arms in ballet, right? We have our 5 positions that we practiced, but there's a whole other set of arms that we do. So we're gonna learn one of those. So it starts by just moving our arms side to side really gracefully. We say in ballet that our arms come from our elbows. So our elbows start the movement and the rest of the arm follows. Good. So like you're pushing something down on each side really gently. Not like you're pushing something in a mean way, right? Really gently. Good. And then you look at your hands as you go along. Excellent. I hope you're following along with me. From here, we have to learn what our feet do. We're going to do something called a balance. It's kind of a tricky step, but we're going to point one foot, cross the other behind, and do a little ball change, which means we go to our back foot, back to our front foot. Then we take our back foot and go out to the other side. Like I said, it's tricky. All right, so stick with me here. We're gonna point our foot, tuck the other behind, and go up, down. And let's go to the other side. Down, up, down. We do this step in a music called a waltz that goes 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So you can see how our arms start to help us know which direction we're gonna move. So let's practice that one more time and then we'll add music, okay? Everyone stand tall. We're gonna point our toe and we go 1, 2, 3, and 2, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3. Are you ready to try that with music? I am. Oh, my dog says hello. All right. Hi. He really likes it when our friends get home. All right, here's our music. Everyone stand tall like a ballerina. Pulling up with your strings. Good. And can we do a nice arm? Follow along with me. Good, let's do that one more time. And we're gonna balance it. everyone. It's kind of like you're moving in water, like you're moving in slow motion. Good. Can you try a different arm? We're gonna go up this time with our arms. All right? Now let's do our balancing. Good, everyone. That was excellent. All right. So now we've learned what the fairies do. We're gonna learn what the bluebird does at the very end of the ballet. If you remember, the bluebird and Princess Florine come to the party, right? And they have special music and they do special steps as well. So first we're gonna listen to the music that Princess Florine dances to. Tell me if you think it sounds like a bird. What do you think? Do you think it sounds like a bird? I think it does. All right, so to dance like a bird, right, we have to use our arms in a different way. Can everyone flap your arms like they're wings? Good. All right, so to do this step, we're gonna go through that nice fifth position arm that we have, and then flap our arms like wings. Good, let's try that one more time. Up and back, flap your arms. Excellent, okay. From here, we're going to go up, down. It's kind of tricky, I know. But you're gonna brush your leg really high, down, and flap your wings. Good, let's try that with music. All right, ready? Up, flap and flap. And flap your wings. Good, all right. Excellent work today. That's all I have for you. So we learned about the story of Sleeping Beauty, right? And it was a little bit different than what maybe we saw in the Disney movie because the fairy tale has changed lots over time. But it has beautiful music, so maybe with your parents you could go listen to some of the music and try and figure out who might be dancing, right? Our Bluebird and Princess Florine sounded so different than our fairies. And Caraboss, our evil fairy, will sound really dark compared to our happy fairies. So maybe you could go listen through it and try some of your dance moves you learned today. All right, it was so good dancing with you all. Happy Friday. I hope you join me next week.